Hey, we're the Flick Chicks.
I'm Ann.
And I'm Monica, and the first rule of the Flick Chicks is you don't talk about the Flick Chicks.
What's
I'm
the
just
second
kidding.
rule?
The second rule is, that's a joke, talk about the Flick Chicks to promote us.
Yes, that was to completely dismiss rule number one. That's rule number two.
Exactly. They're kind of contradicting, but it's okay.
Mhm.
So, if you couldn't already tell, today we're having a new episode of Classics We've Never Seen.
Yes.
And
Featuring
today we're featuring the 1999 cult classic Fight Club.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Which is
well
another
known
1990 movie. I didn't realize
I
that.
didn't realize.
Because Matrix 2 is 1999. So
I didn't
basically,
know
we're just repping the year we were born, clearly.
that. Some great movies during that time, I guess.
Exactly.
So yeah, if I'm sure you've heard of Fight Club. Who hasn't heard
Yes.
of Fight Club? You probably, I don't know if everyone has seen it, but I feel like everyone kind of knows the premise of it a little bit. But
Except me, apparently. I knew all everyone would say, "Oh, first rule of Fight Club, don't talk about Fight Club."
Yeah.
That's all I knew. But in my head, and as obviously after watching it today, I know that I was so wrong. I thought this movie was like a boxing movie. Like I was like, oh, like Rocky.
Yeah.
Whoa,
It's
I was in
definitely
for a rude
not, if
awakening.
you've never seen it before and you don't know anything about it, it's definitely not what you would expect it to be.
Not even close.
But just a few little information on the movie. So it was released in 1999, of course, starring Brad Pitt, Edward Norton, and Helena Bonham Carter.
Yes.
Who you probably recognize her if you see her. She plays a bunch of like dark roles, like
Yeah, she
gothic dark like she's Bellatrix Lestrange in Harry Potter.
Yes.
She's like in a lot of like Tim Burton movies, stuff like that. I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure
She has the
in
look.
Alice in
That makes
Wonderland? Was
sense.
she like the queen?
Yeah, she was the red
Whatever it's
one
called,
of the queens. One of the
What's
queens.
that? What's the bad one called? The Queen of Hearts? I think that's what it is.
Queen of Hearts. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's in a lot of like those dark kind of. I've never seen her in a like lighthearted movie. Oh, bless you.
My bad. I think I've seen her play a mom, but she was still weird.
She played Charlie's mom in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but that was the
that
Tim
might be
Burton
it.
movie, so it was definitely pretty
yeah,
dark.
still weird. Yeah.
But yeah, so this movie. I mean, I guess we'll just go right into the kind of little plot blurb summary thing.
Mhm. Sure.
So basically, the film surrounds an unnamed main character played by Edward Norton, who is like an insomniac, and he's really unsatisfied with his job, like his corporate job, he's like so bland or whatever. And he is very like, he loves the furniture in his apartment for some reason. He's like a very
Yes.
materialistic person, I guess. But he's really struggling with his insomnia, so he decides to start attending all these support groups for a bunch of different illnesses. Obviously, he doesn't have like testicular cancer and like blood parasites and all that stuff, because it feels like they really listen to him. He says a line that's like, when you're dying, people actually listen to you. They don't just wait for your turn to speak, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he starts going to all these support groups, and it feels like it's helping, like he thinks that it's helping his insomnia. So, he's like, oh, I'm sleeping better, whatever. And at those meetings, he meets Marla, a girl named Marla, played by Helena Bonham Carter, who's also doing the same thing as him, just going to all the meetings. And they kind of get off to a rough start. So
Yes.
he's doing that, and then on a business trip on his flight back home, he meets a man named Tyler Durden, who's sitting next to him on the plane. He's a soap salesman, and him and Tyler basically just become like besties, pretty much. He gets home, and his apartment blew up for somehow.
Yes.
The unnamed narrator, his apartment blew up, so he has to go stay with Tyler. Tyler offers him a place to stay, and then from there, things happen, and then they decide to form a fight club. Basically, all these like men from around the city just come to like the underground of a bar, and then they let out all their frustrations through the fight club. They just get to punch each other in the face. There's like no winner or loser. It's just kind of like fighting. But then it kind of starts getting out of control, because Tyler starts hooking up with Marla, and Tyler starts inspiring all the Fight Club members to start committing crimes and violence all over the city. So it gets pretty out of hand.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much the premise of the movie. Rundown. I won't give a full plot summary, but you get the gist of it. So yeah, that's the movie. And it's obviously a cult classic. It was really interesting when it was released. It kind of was a bit of a disappointment at the box office, and had really polarizing reviews from critics. But then it slowly, became really popular with audiences. and it just became a really popular movie. Obviously, you know, the quote, the first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club, was like it's one of the most famous movie quotes of all time, I think, personally.
Yes.
And yeah, the movie itself, I think, is like very interesting in terms of like how it's shot and stuff. There's like it breaks the fourth wall a couple times. There's like some surrealism, that kind of thing. And also, just a little tidbit, when the movie came out, it actually inspired real life fight clubs to start popping up.
Of course.
And it also inspired like crazy people to start bombing things too, which is very concerning. But yeah, because in the movie there's a lot of bombing involved.
Yes, things being set on fire, and they do say the chemicals very explicitly.
They like give you the recipe.
Not that like people couldn't have, like, of course, Googled if they know, other people know, you know, it's not like movies are smarter than the consumer.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I can see how it would inspire someone who's
I can definitely see
on edge to do that. But yeah, that's basically it. So, Anne, why have you not seen Fight Club yet?
Why have I not seen Fight Club? One, I was born in 1999 again.
Okay, yeah.
So it probably wouldn't have been, like, it's rated R, right? So
yeah, I can see why.
I would have to wait till I was 18, and then obviously that was not that long ago, to be honest. Not that I wasn't watching rated R movies before, but whatever.
we get it.
Yeah. And also, again, I just clearly, like, you can tell, I had no idea what it was about. I just thought it was about boxing. So I'm like, oh, it's probably like a sports movie. So I didn't really feel like I needed to know too much about it. And like all the references that I've seen about people talking about Fight Club was from men, which is
it's definitely like a man movie.
Yeah, so it was like kind of like a my sexist input. I was like, oh, man movie, bet it's probably about war or sports. So I was just like, oh, it's just like I was like, oh, Fight Club, like a boxing movie that I don't need to see. Like, I also, spoiler alert, have never seen Rocky either. So
me
like
neither.
So I'm like, oh, it's probably one of those. Like, it's just like,
right,
you know,
like Rocky, but more like ragtag, you know.
Yeah, like I thought it was more like Rocky's inspiring. He's doing something, from what I can tell. He's doing something relatively legal, from what I can tell.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But see, it's interesting. Fight Club is like it's the Fight Club itself isn't really the center of the story.
Not at all.
Like, it's kind of just like it's there. It's like a jumping off point, but it's not really the whole part of the story. Like, I would think the movie was just gonna be about the Fight Club, like, right? You know, every day they go in and then some drama happens, you know. But no, I thought it was gonna be
like a rink, like they were like paying people, like people were paying to be in it, and it was gonna be like this whole underground like Fight Club, legit Fight Club. And I thought that's what the movie was about, and I was like, you know what, I didn't think I needed to see it. Or at least I can't say that. It was never at the forefront of my mind, because I was like, oh, it's just like a sports movie, like whatever.
That makes sense. Yeah. No, I'd say about the same. I mean, I personally, this is weird, but I'm not like the biggest fan of Brad Pitt as an actor. I don't know. He just kind of bothers me.
You have like a thing for certain actors, and then you won't watch their movies.
I don't know. He just kind of like, I don't know. It's funny because I really love the movie Seven. He's in the movie Seven, but I don't really like him. And like, I don't know. He just irritates me a little bit. And then I guess that just put me off on it like for a while. And then also, yeah, like those type of movies, like for me, it seemed more like a mix of like a grunge, like Godfather mixed with Rocky, mixed with something. That's what I saw it as, just like one of those little underground.
To be clear, we're definitely wrong.
Oh no, we're so wrong. This movie like is very like, there's a lot of layers to it, but that's what I thought it was. So it was just not really my thing. And I just never really like got around to it. I knew the quote, and that's, like I said before, I thought it was just going to be centering around a fight club. So I'm like, do I want to watch a whole hour or 2 hours of men just fighting each other? Not really.
That's what I thought. And also, I didn't even know Brad Pitt was in it until like 2 years ago. Like,
I knew because he's on the cover of the like the movie cover where he's holding the soap. How
little I looked it up. I was just like, people say like Fight Club, blah blah blah. Like, I don't need to. Yeah. You know.
But it's weird too, because the most famous quote from it like doesn't really matter that much.
That's what I was like.
Like, it doesn't really have a big impact on the movie. I don't know why.
Like, at all. Like, if anything, I would think the other quote, which is like, he's like, what's the Project Mayhem? And he's like, first rule of Project Mayhem, don't ask questions. Like
that would make more sense
to me.
But it's just, it's weird how that became the most famous line. It doesn't really it doesn't really affect the plot or any, like, you know, in the most famous line, usually it's like it's a moment in the movie where it's like, oh, this is important, but it's kind of just there. I wonder why people picked up on that, I guess.
I feel like we'll probably touch on this later, like when we do like a deep dive, if you will, about this movie, but I think it just has to do with like them feeling part of the club, and that's why people like are like, yeah, like I'm in something that you don't know about, you know.
I guess, yeah.
Versus, but really that's not what the movie is about.
No, not really. So anyways, yeah, that's pretty much it for that, and I guess we can just go right into what we thought of the movie.
Yes,
this part will probably have spoilers because you can't really talk about the movie without talking about, because there's if you don't know, this movie is like it has a very big like plot twist at the end.
Yes.
And actually it's weird because I knew about this plot twist. I don't know how. I think a long time ago I looked up like the plot summary of it, and because I think one time I was curious as to what Fight Club was about, so I looked it up.
Yes.
And I remember reading it because I remember when I was watching the movie I was like, wait, I remember what happens now, like at the end. But there is like a really big plot twist at the end that I don't think you would expect. I don't know, you tell me if you were surprised by it.
I was shook. I was like, what? Like, my mind was blown. I was like, how? This doesn't know. Which is obviously good because I was just as shocked as he was. Like, he was like, huh?
It's one of those where the plot twist happens, and then like if you look back on the movie, you're probably like, oh my god, that makes so much sense now.
Yes.
Like you see all the little like clues and stuff.
Yeah. Now I'm like, that's why these like moments didn't like happen, you know? Like, I guess I could say it because we've already put the spoiler warning. Yeah. But like, especially the parts where him and Marla and Tyler were together, and then Marla was clearly trying to get with narrator. Yeah. Call him narrator. And I was like, why doesn't he? I'm like, he's such an idiot. Like, just get with her. Like, she's so into you, clearly. Yeah. Like, yeah. But also I was like, Marla, why are you sleeping with Tyler if you're really into this one? Is this your way of getting jealous or something? Yeah. And now I totally understand why she was like doing all this stuff to try to get his attention, because I was like, you're sleeping with the other one, like just leave him alone. And then I was like, oh my god,
he is the other one. Yeah, see, for me it was like, even though I knew it was happening, I feel like I could tell when the narrator, like in the morning after, she like comes in the kitchen and he's like, what are you doing in my house? And she's like, huh? And he's like, what are you doing here? Like, leave. And she's like, just looks so confused, and she's like, because, you know, usually if you sleep at someone's house and then like their roommate is telling you like, get out, I'd be like, oh, whatever, like you're so annoying, and I leave. But she just looked like so confused, and she's like, what do you mean, like, get out? I was like, and you could see in her face, it's like, we literally just slept together, I don't know why you're kicking me out of your house.
I didn't really think of that. I was just like, Marla being weird again. I don't know.
No, see, like I feel bad for her.
I feel so bad for her, especially because like I get it where she was like, you're push and pull or whatever she said, because there's the part where he's like, no, I actually want to know why you're here, and he was just like asking questions and stuff, and she's like, you really want me here? And he's like, yeah. And then like the next day he's like, whatever. Or she's like, can you come over and inspect my breast? And he was like, yeah. And I love how he's like, I'm such a neutral party to her, she doesn't care. And I was like, that even sir, who, what? Like, anybody would be like, that's an advance, come on now. Yep. Jeez.
But anyway, so did you like the movie? I guess that's the main question.
I cannot say that I did, because I don't know how to describe how I feel. Yeah. Like, I approve. I respect it. Let's say that. Okay. Let's say that. Okay. I respect the movie.
Because there's a lot of questionable things that happen in this movie, so I guess I see what you mean, where it'd be like, oh, what? I love this movie. I love all the bombing and the cult and the...
Like, I don't understand. Really? Okay, we're gonna bring in another movie. Peter Kavinsky. Wait. was talking about this to all the boys I've loved before.
Oh, sorry, I forgot about that.
He was like, oh, you have to watch Fight Club. So I'm thinking Fight Club is like Rocky, like a little like fun, boom, boom, boom. But, oh my gosh, both of them have problematic taste in movies. First of all, Lara Jean with 16 Candles.
Oh, no.
And then him with Fight Club. Like, I'm like, y'all are watching some dark, weird, twisted movies. Like,
this movie is very twisted.
It's not a movie that you say like, oh, you need to watch this with me, like.
No, but I do feel like it definitely like messed with my mind a little bit.
Oh yeah, like
I was sitting there. See, usually with me in movies, like I'm really bad at like paying attention during movies. Like, I'll always get distracted and stuff like that. Yeah. But like almost the whole movie, I was literally just like staring at the screen. Like, I couldn't look away. Like, I was so interested, and I'm like, oh my god, like, what is gonna happen? Even though I already knew what the spoiler was gonna be.
That's
so I was like, so I don't know, I just felt like I was very interested.
Yeah.
Like,
no, it
shit was always happening.
The movie was long, but I was like,
oh, it's pretty long, actually.
I needed to finish because I'm like, what is this? Like, I didn't understand what the point was. Like, I was like, because at first, this is what I'm going to be honest, when I first started watching, I was like, oh, this is going to be which is still accurate. It's going to be an exploration on men who like lack masculine figures, I guess. How they operate in the world and how like that affects them, because he doesn't have, and how lonely men, like how that actually can escalate, because they don't really, because women just have more support groups naturally. It's just more of a expectation. It's more of something more accepted, versus if a older man like doesn't have a wife, you know, like maybe you'll have a friend or two, but like that's about it. And if your parents aren't around, like you don't really have people to support you. So I was like, okay, like him going to the support group was like an exploration in that, but then it just keeps going.
I think this movie is like, every time you think like, okay, this is what's happening, like they just throw in something new, and you're like, oh shit, now this is because at first it's like, okay, he's going to the support groups, that's gonna happen. Oh, then Tyler comes in. Oh, they start a fight club. Oh, they start a cult. Like, what's going on?
So the first part, I was following the whole support group, and then Marla, and then Tyler, all that stuff. I was like, okay, still I'm cool with it, makes sense. The next part with the Project Mayhem, that's when I really got confused. Like,
and that's the thing, I was really confused in that too, because I'm like, where did all this come from? But then I realized like that's the whole point. It's kind of like we're seeing it through the narrator's eyes. Where everything kind of just like happens, and you're like, wait, where did this all happen? Like, how did this come from? And I'm
sleep.
So I was literally about to say, so I was reading just now, like I was trying to figure out like what all this was happening, and someone pointed it out, and I was like, oh my god, that makes so much more sense now. So there's a scene in the movie where, you know, they get into the car accident, right?
Yes.
So they get into the car accident, and this scene apparently is like one of the really pivotal moments in the movie, but you don't really notice it at first. So like, you know how Tyler is driving the car, right?
Yes.
So basically when they get into the car accident, if you didn't already watch the movie, they get into like this really bad car accident, and then Tyler pulls the narrator out of the car. He pulls the narrator out of the driver's seat, not the passenger seat. So like,
what?
Yeah,
I thought I saw narrator pull Tyler out.
No, Tyler pulled the narrator out of the driver's seat, even though he was in the passenger seat before. Jeez. Right? So after that is when like stuff started to get all messed up, because apparently after the car accident, the narrator had like a big, either the narrator or Tyler, I don't remember, one of them had like a big gash in his head from the car accident. And then they get home from the car accident, he goes to sleep, and then when he wakes back up, he thinks it's morning, right? But if you look, the cut on his head is healed. So clearly it means like a long time has passed.
Whoa.
So like he thinks he just went to sleep for a day or something, but like clearly weeks have gone by. So he's been as Tyler for a week. So that's why when he wakes up, he's so confused, because this whole Project Mayhem thing is spread, like all these plans, all these like, they had all these detailed bomb schematics and the whole plans laid out. And he's like, what is going on? And then we're left confused too. We're like, wait, like the Project Mayhem thing. I feel like as you progress throughout the movie, and as Tyler becomes like stronger kind of in his mind, you start to get more confused, because things just keep happening, and you're like, where did this all come from? And that's exactly how the narrator feels like, because he keeps obviously falling asleep and doing stuff as Tyler more like for more and more time. So like stuff just happens when he wakes up, and he's like, I don't know where all this stuff came from. Like how did all, because when he's confused, he's like, how did all these fight clubs pop up so easily?
Yeah, he's
and then like, he finds all the tickets, the plane tickets, and then like, where did Project Mayhem come from? How did all these people end up in my house? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, see, like when the movie started getting a little weird, I started thinking like, because I definitely knew that Tyler, like I guess the entity had set the apartment on fire. Like I like as soon as it happened, I was like, this guy did it. But I thought it was going into like a stalker mode. Like I thought Tyler was doing all this creepy stuff.
So you thought like Brad Pitt Tyler was stalking the narrator.
Yes, I thought he saw something in him, and he's like, you're like me, and I want you to become like something. Like I thought, but this makes way more sense, because the fact that he would just follow some random.
But it's still just so crazy to me. Like that's why it's like it leaves you so confused, because all the stuff, like he literally, where it said, oh, you had all these jobs at night because you couldn't sleep. Like he was literally doing all of these jobs without even knowing. Like he worked in the movie theater, he worked as a waiter, he did all that stuff without even knowing. Like, it's crazy to me.
And he kept saying like, oh, like now you look back, he's like, oh, when you have an insomniac, you have copies. And I was like, duh, like the hallucination.
Like, this makes me want to go and rewatch the whole beginning part again to like pick up on what I missed, because like I'm like, yo, there's so much makes
especially
sense.
The parts where he's like, don't talk about me. I was like, that's weird.
Because he was like telling us, do not mention Marla to me or whatever. And then when he did, he's like, I told you not to do that.
And I could totally see where Marla is the weaker point at this. Like, where, you know how they saw her as a threat. I can see that because she would be like, what do you mean? Like, we're sleeping together. Like, it would have been a clear thing if he had mentioned it right away. Yeah. And wow.
Man, but yeah, see, I think that's the reason why I would say, in like an objective point of view, I would say I liked the movie just because like I appreciate smart movies, like movies that you can tell a lot of thought has been put into. Also, this movie was based on a book, so I can't like give all the credit to the director or whatever, because clearly he didn't come up with the story himself. But like I just like movies,
but that's
where
still good as an adaptation.
Oh yeah, like for sure. And like the cinematography was really interesting, and like just the way it was like put onto the screen was really interesting. So I just appreciate movies that like you can tell there's just so much thought put into it, and a lot of like it makes you think. And those movies, especially where you watch it once and then you're like, oh shit, I need to watch that again to like pick up on everything now, because honestly that plot twist is really good. Like, you don't really see it coming.
Yeah. And also it happened so late in the movie, if you really
it's like at the very end.
Yeah, it's like, and like the movie is 2 hours and like 20 minutes ish, and it happens at like the 2 hour mark, which is like, I would say unheard of kind of for a lot of movies in terms of like the plot twist. They usually do it like
maybe like 30 minutes, third act, but this was like at the very end. And everything kind of just falls apart, and it's pretty crazy.
It is crazy.
It's a crazy movie. Like, it's just a lot of, it's like there's a lot of different things happen. That's why I'm like, I think I liked it, because I was really interested. Like, I couldn't look away from the screen, and I was like, this is crazy.
I think the only thing I didn't like, to me, this is just me, I didn't like the fighting scenes. I was like, I don't even like, I don't care for this is the difference, because it's weird, I guess, to me. Like, I like Marvel movies, and it's like a lot of them are action, but to me, in the Marvel movies, although it may be cheesy, there's like talking and there's like stuff that happens that is important for the movie. Does that make sense? You know, so and so now has the piece of whatever that needs to be done, and the action scenes aren't as like hands-on versus like this one and The Matrix 2. It's like, I don't actually need to see every part until the end where I know who wins. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's not really, especially in Fight Club at least, not even important who wins. Like, not even.
Yeah, and they do mention it too. Like, one of the rules of Fight Club is like, it doesn't matter. Or what they mention at some point, or I think in the voiceover, he's like, it doesn't matter who wins or who loses, or like nobody wins and loses. It's like everyone wins because you just get to let out your frustration.
Yeah. So there was like a couple, like, I feel like there's a lot of fight scenes. Like, I'm like, I understand their target audience is enjoying this, but me, I just found them really gruesome, and I didn't like that. I was like watching that. I don't like. I especially did not like seeing Blondie the next day with his stitches in his nose. I was like, bleh,
I didn't like that.
I could not do it. I could not.
Or just while he was getting beat up, I didn't like.
Yeah. That. Also, weird scene that I just wanted to mention. I don't know, because you did your research, so you might know. What was happening with those mafia guys? That entire scene was so weird to me.
Which one?
The guys come downstairs, these like mafia guys, and they're like, what are you guys doing here? And they're like, oh, we made a deal with, I don't know.
Oh, those were mafia guys? I thought they were police. I thought he was a police officer.
Really? No.
He said something like he owns the bar. Is that what he said, right? It's like the guy
that owns but that's why that's why I thought it was like a mafia thing, because or like a gang thing, because a lot of gangs will associate with bars for protection. Like, they'll be like, that's my bar, so anyone who like messes with it messes with me. So he's like, I don't know about you, I know this guy, the manager, might have hired you, but I didn't approve it. And then they just have that weird fight thing, and
I don't know, and then like nothing, then we never hear from them again. So I don't
know. That's the one part I was like, what is this for? Like,
I don't know. I feel like maybe if I rewatched it, I could pick up on a clue, because there's a lot of like Easter eggs in this movie that I don't really pick up on. But I personally think I understand why it became a cult classic. I just wish it was known more for what it was about and not just like I wish people didn't look at it and think it was just a fighting movie, because like it's deep. Like there's a lot of like social like existentialism, 100%. Social commentary. Like
that's why I'm like, yo, like half of these children, including Peter Kavinsky, don't even know what they were watching. Like they don't even understand what movie this was and what it was for. And like even if you go online, like a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot, some people have said like, oh, this is a movie about how we can't have the feminization of society or whatever. And it's like, that's not even as simple as like, I know, that's what I'm saying. Like
that's not even what it's about.
Don't even, because like I can understand where you would pick up on that. Again, all the guys do lack people, period. Not even just male companions, but just people in their lives. So I can see where you would say like because there's like this is a talking point nowadays of the abandonment of men in general. Like they're saying men aren't, how do you say, cared for in the society anymore. And so there you have a lot of like incel people like that, or people who are like alone and they don't have support groups, like especially because now like they said in the movie, those guys back in the day would have gone to war or would have done something pretty much like significant. They would have put their life into something that would give them a purpose. But now it's like, what are you gonna do? It
definitely is like an incel movie.
It definitely is. It's like, it gives me men's rights a little bit.
But see, the thing is, I'm just trying to forget that, and I'm trying to look at it as like as a piece of like story.
I don't even think it's that simple in terms of like I like to hear everybody's sides of you know what they want to say, and I do think there is a problem. Obviously, anyone who's alone, who doesn't have a support system, it's a problem in general, right? How we go about that's obviously where like people differ in opinions, I guess, right? Obviously, I don't think how they went about it was good, but I also don't think the movie was trying to show that. And I think the people who somehow interpret it that way are kind of dumb. And I think that's sorry.
That's what I'm saying.
And
it's stupid because it's like
that's why the quote is
incels
bad.
Would watch it and we're like, ooh, that's such a good idea, but it's like you missed the whole point of the movie. Then
exactly, like the people who are like quoting, oh, first rule Fight Club, blah blah blah. I'm starting to think they didn't really understand what this was about, because I feel like the people who use that quote probably haven't seen the movie. You know haven't seen the movie. That's true. Yeah, that's also a thing. But the people, it must have started somewhere though. That's what I'm saying. So that whoever started saying it, not that it's a problem in itself, but it gives me the impression that you didn't understand what the message was. Yeah. Because I think let's say, or how I interpret it is, maybe this movie is made by someone who has an incel like point of view and is living the incel lifestyle or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But they're pointing out how the means of dealing with them, which in this sense were very like masculine, like testosterone driven, like let's fight, are not the good ways to do it, you know? Yeah. And if you actually watch at the end of the movie, he ends up with Marla and he's like, I should have treated you properly and should have been with you the whole time. So he was running away from someone who could potentially really care about him because he thought she was like trash for some reason, you know? Yeah. Or he thought she was too much like him, which we could talk about that. Oh, I love to talk about how men kind of talk about how they want a woman just like them, but then sometimes they get that and then they're like, ew, like, you know what I'm saying?
Because they don't want to admit that that's how they're like too.
Yeah, like they're like, oh, I want a girl who's like likes what I like and does blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you don't know what comes with that too. Like it's not just like, oh, it's not like she's gonna like what you like, but also she's gonna go like, it's like, oh,
she's gonna have your negative baseball player too, you know?
Exactly. Like he's like, I'm a baseball player, I want a girl who plays baseball, and then he'll be shocked at that she's like, I don't know, she doesn't put on makeup every day, and I'll be like, well, yeah, because she's playing sports. Like, what did you want? I feel like they want their cake and eat it too. So I think the resolution of the movie was for him to realize that the Fight Club way, support group way, was not the way to go. Yeah. And that I mean, actually, not this. Maybe not the sport group. Sport group was okay. It's fine. But
it's a weird method, but it worked for him. So
yes, the Fight Club way was not a good way. The community and like being around people, even being around Bob, was a better way.
Just like being listened to, you know. Because I feel like the Fight Club way was his way of like assuming power over people.
Yeah,
you know. And then like at the end,
he
realizes
no talking in Fight Club.
Yeah, exactly. So then he realized like instead of like his alter ego, pretty much was like trying to assert all this power and dominance over everyone, but in the end, like he just really needed someone to listen to him.
Yes.
And that Fight Club way just went out. It got out of hand. It really got out of hand. I still like it's just crazy. Like I still can't even like wrap my head around the fact that he literally started a cult. Like he just how do you start a cult and you don't even know?
The part that was so crazy to me was the scene with the cops.
I was gonna say that part was. I was like, no, like you literally can't trust anyone now.
Nobody.
Oh, that was crazy.
They were gonna cut his balls off. I was like, my gosh.
Like, how do you just do that in the interrogation room? You don't think anyone's gonna question it? Like, I'm confused. No, because when they were like, you said you were gonna say that, the guy. Or like you told us you were gonna say that too, or like you said you were gonna say that and not to listen to. I was like, no, like what?
Oh my god.
Oh, I hated that.
How do you fight against yourself? Like that's literally what it is.
No, and
like,
then the whole fight scene in like
move.
in the parking garage, like he was just fighting himself the whole time.
Yes.
Like, you know, in the parking garage when he was trying to defuse the bomb. Yeah. Like, he was just fighting with himself the entire time.
Those must have been hard scenes to film.
Because it's like, okay,
we need you to hit your... No, but that was the weirdest. That's when I was like, the narrator is crazy. When he did when he was hitting himself to get his boss in trouble. That was wild.
That was crazy.
Like, I was like...
That was crazy.
I was like,
and he's like, please don't hit me.
And I was like, what?
Oh, that was great. See, and it's funny because all that happened before we even knew about the whole like like they're the same person thing. So like that should have told us like, oh, he clearly is able to fight himself like that to make it look like somebody's fighting him. So like that's kind of the whole point, is that people, because the Fight Club started because people saw him and Tyler fighting outside the bar.
Yeah,
but it turns out he was just fighting himself. Like it's so weird.
Oh, I know. And you know what? He was like, and I'm pretty sure he said, guys, it's all right. Like, it feels good or something. Like, when the guys came out. So, these guys are probably watching him beat himself up. And then he's like, nah, it's actually a release. Like, I feel good.
Oh, my God, yeah. And that's probably why, yeah.
And then they were like, you know what? This guy's willing to hit himself. Like, why don't we just hit each other?
That's so funny. I don't know. It's just like,
oh, my gosh.
That's something I feel like I just need to rewatch the entire movie knowing exactly, like, what the plot twist was, so that I can like pick up on everything, because it's crazy. And it's so
weird to me because I'm like in general, I'm a very not violent person. Like I don't even understand the idea of like breaking your phone because you're mad. Like I don't even get that. Like I'm like, you're gonna have to pay for that. Like that's what I think the whole time. Literally. Like I'm like, you idiot, you just gave yourself more misery. Like I don't understand. I don't have any like feeling of like, let me punch a wall. Like
this is oh my god, this is a movie for people that punch a wall when they're angry.
Yes. And then my dad was like, we have this conversation all the time, like, because like me and my dad watch a lot of reality TV together. Okay. And there's a lot of instance where like guys will get into fights and I'll be like, oh my gosh, like I'll be so annoyed. Like I'll be like, yo, if my dude did that, I'd be so pissed. And my dad always has to explain to me, like, sometimes I forget, like even though we have evolved a lot, obviously, there's still clearly like specific biological tendencies, let's say, between men and women for the most part. Not to, put it too much in a binary place, but like if, in that sense, right? So he says like,
also society like tells men they need to.
Yes, society tells men a lot. Yes, of course. But he's like, there's this feeling, and he's like, not everybody has it. Like not all men have it, but he says like, obviously, and it's proved that extra testosterone does make you feel that way, of like violence, like feeling like you need to defend your honor. And I was like, I don't even like, when I feel like someone's challenging me, I'm like, am I trying to catch a case? Like that's what I be thinking.
Literally.
But he's like, that's not what's going on. Like you kind of just see red and you're like, this is like, no. And he's like, obviously you're not gonna go kill this guy because of something that happens. But he's like, if he's because specifically in the show, this guy was like disrespecting his girl, and he was like gonna go fight him, and the girl was like, don't do this, and he kind of like pushed her, not too much, but I did not like that. I was like, how dare he push her? And then my dad was like, he was defending a little bit the guy, and he was like, she should not have. He's like, although it's bad, she should not have put herself in the middle of two men who are like ready to fight. Like he's like, that's a bad idea. And I agree. Eventually, I saw that. I was like, yeah, that's dumb. You should not be like, let me play peacemaker and like come in the middle.
That's why you always see in those movies, like the two guys are fighting and the girls just stand on the side, like, stop it, stop.
Yeah. Which is the right thing to do because you never walk in.
Don't jump into the fight. Don't.
Clearly, yeah, silly stuff. But what was the point of this? I went on a tangent. But just, again, this affinity for violence, it was, like, completely out of my...
realm.
Realm, yeah. And I just... I think this movie is good for people who need to learn that violence is not the answer. But I hope they see it that way, which is not always the case.
I feel like, this movie is definitely, like, there's a lot of interpretations you can do. Like, it's very, there's, like, a lot of commentary on, like, capitalism, like, consumerism, and...
yes, they did talk about that a lot.
Like I said before, existentialism, also, like, personalities and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just, like, it's crazy. This movie is just, there's a lot to unpack with this movie.
Much. Like, so many layers, so many topics.
Like, you could go on, like, I feel like I could go on, like, Reddit and find really good analysis posts.
And I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface on, like, what, what's her face? What's her face represented? Marla.
Yeah.
I feel like we're, like, talking about narrator and Tyler's relationship, but I'm sure, like, Marla has a whole other like metaphor significance that
I'm definitely gonna go and search it all up now.
Yes.
There's a lot of, I feel like there's a lot
because like I guess to me she represented like I read this online. They talked about how the director talked about this, how there were 3 stages,
right?
Him of the narrator going through killing, he had to kill or like eliminate his parents, God, and then I forgot what the last one was. Damn it. Okay, forgot what the last one was.
Okay.
That sucks.
But
basically, for him, his parents were already out of the picture from the beginning of the movie. Like, his dad was never there. And, oh, by the way, when they were talking about their dads, now I see the parallel. Literally talking about the same person. Yeah, his dad was, like, a no-go, and his mom is just not to be mentioned, really. Like, I guess he just detached himself from his mom, which is common with, like, lonely men, I would say.
Yeah.
2, the God part was Tyler was his like hero, you know, for a good while. Like he was like, this is like who I want. But then later, when all this stuff is happening, he's like, yo, like I don't feel this.
Like Tyler started detaching from him, from who he thought
he was like
was,
exactly. So he was killing like his God in the sense of like who he worshipped, and he's like, this is not what I want. Like who he thought he wanted is not what he wants. So he's destroying. And I think the last one may be himself.
That's what I was gonna say. It seems like the last one is himself because that's kind of how the movie ends.
Exactly. So it's himself, and he realizes that like the way he was being and also what he thought he needed was not right, and he eventually came to terms with like what was proper for him. But oh my gosh, this movie,
like I'm telling you, it's just there's a lot to unpack. I feel like you could do a whole like university course on this movie.
It's just a long video essay on that.
Literally. Oh my god. Video essays. I'm gonna go watch some video essays actually.
I watched another one recently. It was so good. Maybe whatever, y'all should watch it. It was like in defense of love at first sight, and I was actually enlightened because it's like one of my least favorite types, and I was like,
interesting,
not bad.
So I have that's basically our thoughts on the movie. Just basically it's a lot to unpack. It's like interesting. I feel like if you're into those type of movies where you need a lot of thought, it's like grungy kind of, you should watch it. It's pretty I feel like my brain at the end was like, whoa.
Whoa. I'm glad I know. I think I feel like at the end of all of these, I'll always be like, I'm glad I watched it because now I know.
See, I'm definitely glad I watched this because even though I knew what was going to happen at the end, I still feel like I learned a lot, like I feel like I
still feel like even knowing that spoiler, and you do it kind of like at the back of your mind, it wasn't like clear. I still would be so like, what is going on?
Because I knew what it was, but I needed to see like the explanation because like all I knew was that they were the same person. So I was trying to like pick up on it during the thing, but I'm like, no, I need a full explanation on how that's possible. And at the end when they're explaining, you had all those jobs at night, and then like they showed the same scenes over again but without the two of them, just with the narrator or whatever, and I was like, oh my god, that's crazy.
That's wild.
Okay. So basically is this the time where we give our grade, or do we do that after?
I think we do the questions first, and then
we'll have a couple of fun facts. Not
nice.
fun fact, just fun little things. First of all, I feel like you maybe heard this before, but this movie apparently has a Starbucks cup in every single scene.
Oh,
I did not
notice.
Know that. I feel like if I rewatched it, I would notice, but that's what the director says, that in pretty much every single scene except for the last scene, I'm pretty sure, has a Starbucks cup in it.
That would be difficult to place in that.
Yeah. I don't know how, especially because a lot of them are like, the people in this movie are pretty like poor. So I don't know how they were getting Starbucks, but yeah, apparently that's what it is. And also, this one is pretty interesting because did you notice at the beginning of the movie how in certain scenes you would see like Tyler flash on the screen?
Yes.
So
now
like
that I know it was Tyler.
Yeah. So basically, that scene is super interesting to me because there's the part where the narrator talks about Tyler's job at the movie theater and how during the movies he only got that job so that he could like insert a single frame of like porn into like kids movies, to the point where people like don't really realize what they saw. Like they think they saw something, but they're not really sure, so they kind of just like ignore it, but enough to like make you comfortable and be like, did I just see what I thought I saw? And they pretty much do the same thing in the actual movie. It's like it breaks the fourth wall kind of, where like they do that in the actual movie Fight Club, where there's 4 different times where Tyler will pop up in like a single frame of the movie. I think it's like 1/24 of a second. That's what I found on the internet. And 4 different parts of the movie where you kind of think to yourself, what did I just see? Because you go into the movie knowing that Brad Pitt is in it, and then you see him before he's introduced. So you're like, did I just see Brad Pitt? Like what? Like what is he doing there? And then like you're just kind of confused, and you're like, is that what I really saw? See, when I was watching it, I didn't know that whole thing. So I was watching it, I'm like, wait, what? Like, did I just see what I thought I saw? Was that a glitch?
Yeah, I thought it was just like, because he said, I see copies because I'm Insomniac. So I'm like, they're just like playing into that, I guess.
For me, I was like, did the movie just glitch? Like, I'm really confused. Like, I didn't really understand what I was like seeing. And then after I saw that, I was like, like it makes sense. It's referring back to the thing with the movie where it's like thing, like it's like a thing within a thing. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like he explains how he does it in the movie, but then the filmmakers do the same thing. That's crazy. The movie, because I think 4 separate times. One of the times is like in the doctor, when he like sees the doctor in the hallway. Yes, he pops up, and in his office he pops up, and then I think also when he's with Marla,
in the support group,
and in the support group he pops up. Yeah, so it's like you're watching it, and then like you kind of, it's so quick that you're like, is that what I think I saw? Yeah. So that's literally a callback to what he said in the movie later on. It was pretty crazy. This part was pretty crazy. And also we see him a couple more times before we're actually introduced to him. So he sees him in the airport, and then it's at one other point, I'm pretty sure. But I thought that was pretty weird.
Where he was where Tyler tried to watch him and Marla like doing it, and then Tyler came to the door like right away, and he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh my god. And I was like, what is he
I don't know if I remember that, but
did make me. You don't remember?
No.
He was like, for once, he was like going back to his room to like just go back to his room.
The narrator,
and the narrator, and he could hear Marla and Brad.
Right,
going at it, and then he was like kind of like trying to peek through, and then Tyler was immediately at the door, being like, what are you doing? And I was like, how did he get there that fast? I remember thinking that. Like, I was like, that doesn't make sense.
He just like shows up in all kinds of places, which makes sense after the fact, and you realize, oh my god, yeah, that's how he can just pop up in places, because he doesn't exist. Exactly. Oh, that was crazy.
Wild.
But yeah, so I have a little question. It's not really that serious of a question, but I was just wondering. So this is kind of a follow-up question, but question A, would you actually, which one should I ask first? Okay, maybe I'll ask this one first. Do you think you could win if you ever got into a fist fight?
That's cute. No.
Like if someone just came up to you and like really just tried to fight you, like they literally look like they're ready to hurt you, and you had to defend yourself, do you think you could win the fight?
I don't think I could win, but I think I could like do enough damage to like escape. That would be my plan. Like I'd never be like, I'm gonna like KO this girl right now.
Yeah. Okay.
If it's a dude, please men, stop listening at this point. I would do the crotch knee to the face combo.
Yeah. Little combo.
Yeah. But if it's a woman, grab her hair, I guess. That's very but like, I don't wanna. I would really try to run. Like, I'd be like, this girl's crazy, and I'd be screaming the whole time. Like, I'd be like, oh my gosh! Even when I'm hitting her, I'd be like, somebody, she's trying.
Just like
I
screaming.
really.
So you wouldn't fight, you would run. Like, you know how it's like fight or flight, so you would flight.
Yes, I would flight
I see.
faster than Hussein, okay? I would be out of there. No, I would not fight.
Okay.
I'm also, for people who cannot see me, I'm 5'2". I'm not an idiot, okay?
Okay,
Most
a different
people are
question then.
taller
So
than me.
that's if you got like in a fight on the street, but I'm saying, what if you like just got thrown into a ring and you just had to fight the person? You couldn't run away. Do you think you could win the fight?
Okay. I think...
Like, okay, no, you know in the Fight Club how like when you're new you have to fight, you know what I mean? Like if you're new, so imagine you're new at the Fight Club.
for 1 year.
Okay.
So I know how to punch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have I ever tried to punch anyone? No. So I don't think I would win, but I would try. If I was like in the situation.
Yeah, like if you're new at the Fight Club because for some reason you showed up and you have to fight, so they throw you in the ring. Because
clearly I showed up, so I wanted to do some damage, so I gotta do it. You know,
makes sense.
I'd probably tap out real quick though. Like as soon as it gets too bad, I'd be like tap out. You know?
One punch, you're like, okay, I'm done. That's enough.
Yeah, I'm done. It's good.
Oh yeah. See, I don't know if I would win. Okay, I'm pretty tall. So I guess it would just depend on who I was fighting. But honestly, I feel like it would be a close call. Like, I don't think I would lose badly, but I don't think I would win unless I got lucky kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
But I want to be at a point in my life where I could be confident that I could win in a fight. Like, I want to take like self-defense lessons or something, and I want to learn how to properly fight someone.
But I want to take self-defense. Also wanted to take kickboxing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I want to be able to walk down the street and be like, if anyone tries to fight me right now, I could fight them. Like, that's how I want to be in my life. You know what I mean?
Really? I would never get to that point. I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I can escape. Like, that's always the plan. Like, I'm like, pow, pow, pow. And while they're down, I'm like, run so fast.
Yeah.
Like,
see, that's important skill to have. That's important life skill to have, to be able to like pop, pop, pop and run away. But I think, I don't know. I feel like maybe at some point in my life, like maybe when I'm making a bunch of money, I'll just go back and like relearn. Because I did Taekwondo for like 2 years or something. Or like, I don't know, maybe like 2 years. I think 2 years.
Yeah.
Like I got to, actually, I don't think you need to do it for that long to be able to like get advanced in it. But I did it until like blue belt, which is like 3 belts away from black belt, I think.
Whoa, only in 2 years?
And like I think it wasn't that long. Like I don't remember it taking that long. I think it was only 2 years.
I did karate for a year, and I didn't even get the yellow stripe. My brother did. Again,
I don't remember. Yeah, honestly, I don't remember how long I did it for. But I just remember I got to blue belt, and I think after blue belt there was like green, and then there was brown, and then there was black. I could be totally wrong.
I do remember you getting somewhat far though. I remember.
Yeah, like I remember it was like white, or it was like no belt, and then it was like white, and then it was or something. Or no, it was white, and then yellow, and then orange, and then blue. I think I don't know. I have to look it up. Yeah. But whatever Karate it is, I did a good amount of I did a good amount of Taekwondo, but like I completely forgot all of it because I did it in like the 4th grade. So I want to like go back and relearn all of that stuff so I can like actually fight people. You know.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
That's just you.
Because I feel like I'm super weak. Like I want to be able to like fight someone if I have to, you know? What if somebody does me wrong and I just need to like, you know, have some payback?
You need to fight them. Yeah.
Some people just deserve to be fought, you know?
I know, but I'm gonna make sure they catch that case, okay? Like,
yeah, it makes sense.
I'm not doing any of the dirty work. Okay, but that was a fun question. Funny.
Yeah, I wonder if someone would ever make like a girl fight club.
Dude,
that would be wild actually, because girls need to get their anger out sometimes too.
Sometimes, but I feel like I would have more fun smashing stuff, you know, because I'd be like,
that's true.
That's somebody's face. Like that would be like what I'm thinking the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm like, blood? Ugh.
Ooh, yeah, no, I wouldn't be able to do that. All right.
No.
So that's pretty much it for that. I guess it's time to give our grade for Fight Club. Or are we giving our grade and then we're going to guess what it is on Rotten Tomatoes?
Oh, yeah, the Rotten Tomato, right? Okay.
Yeah. Or are we guessing what we think it is on Rotten Tomatoes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I'll go first. Polarized. I'm gonna give it an 80. Like I think it's close to an 80.
Mm-hmm. You think it's like, is that your grade and also what you think it is?
No, that's what I think it is.
That's what you think it is?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give... Okay, because people bombed stuff, I'm gonna go a little lower.
Oh, you think the Rotten Tomatoes score would go down because of the bombing?
Yes, because I still think people can revisit, you know? So I believe that could have an effect on it. I think the audience score is probably much higher than the critic score. That's going to be my guess. Not much higher, but just higher. Let me go with 78.
Ooh.
I just feel like...
So it's 79.
Oh!
So it's right in between the both of us.
We're literally tied, yeah. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, the audience score is 96. So...
See? Yeah. I felt... Because I was like... Obviously, it's very, like, everyone talks about it, so people liked it. But I could see the critics being like, this is bad for society. Coming back. For society. Yeah, exactly.
So we both win.
Okay.
Because it was exactly between the both. 79, honestly, is pretty low for, like, that iconic of a movie.
I think that's kind of low. I don't think they should have given that.
Yeah, it is pretty low.
It should be higher.
I think
I would give the movie personally. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I would give it like an 86. Like
I was gonna say, I'd give it like an 85. I think it deserves
an
85. Like it's a good movie.
Yeah,
you know,
like it's well done, well thought out. I don't.
Yeah,
like that's just. I guess it's just a matter of taste at that point to me, really.
Yeah, and how you think it impacts society.
Yeah, and what you think the message is. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna go. I think the consensus is I need to read into this, and I need to read all the analysis, theories, explanations, video essays, because I feel like there's a lot to unpack here with the themes 100%. And stuff. But so
wild movie.
Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Classics We've Never Seen. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We really enjoy doing the series. I mean, I personally enjoy doing the series. It's really fun.
It's good.
I love visiting movies. It
forces me to do stuff.
Yeah.
To watch movies. Sorry.
You know the drill. As usual, follow us on Instagram at FlickChicksPod. Subscribe to this podcast. Give us a review, preferably 5 stars, because we deserve it. And we'll catch you guys next week for another general episode.
Yes. All right. Bye.